In the late 1970s, war once again swept across Southeast Asia. After years of defending our own land, Vietnamese soldiers were called to a new mission: to cross the border into Cambodia and help free its people from the brutal Khmer Rouge regime. It was not an easy task. The fighting was fierce, the losses heavy. But it was a duty we could not turn away from. What you are about to hear is not fiction. These are the memories, the living testimony of a Vietnamese soldier who fought, survived, and carried his scars home. His voice speaks across time, of battles, of comrades, of survival and sacrifice. These are his true recollections, told as he remembers them. So now, let us begin. Hello, comrades. To all of you who once fought in the battlefields of Cambodia. My name is Minh Tran. I joined the Army in May 1978. My unit was C3, J9E10, F339. Back then, more than 10 of us left from my village, but in the end, only 6 returned. The others, they either fell in battle or sickness claimed their lives. Now, only a few of us remain. I carry with me countless memories, hundreds of battles, big and small, in Cambodia. And somehow, I was among the lucky ones who survived. To stand here today. But survival came at a cost. My body carries many scars, many wounds. I was injured several times. But death did not take me. So, comrades, and all of you listening, this is my story. 6 long years in Cambodia. From 1978 until the very end of 1984, when I was finally released from service. When we first marched to join our unit, we imagined the army would have barracks, real buildings, a proper base. But when we arrived, all we found were simple shelters made of tarpaulin sheets, stretched over wooden poles. That was our home. At the time, our regiment, 442, was newly formed. We trained as fresh recruits in Tuong Son Village, Dong Song District, Thanh Hoa Province. Life was hard. The whole country was poor, especially in the north. We only ate rice once or twice a week. Most of the time, we survived on muk muk, a coarse porridge made from corn and millet. Forgive me for saying this, but what went in came out the same way. That was how hungry we were. During training, only half of our company was actually drilling with weapons. The other half took turns going into the forest to cut wood, bamboo, and tall grass called trong heo. We carried it all back to build huts and barracks for the unit. We were told it was 3 months of military training. But in truth, only about 1 month was spent learning to fight. The rest was hard labor. By the end of those 3 months, we had built a base, simple but strong. Houses made from bamboo, palm leaves, and forest wood. When it came to weapons, each of us fired only 3 bullets during training. That was all. 3 bullets to prepare for war. After training, each of us was given just 1 week of leave to visit home. At that time, none of us truly understood what kind of war awaited us. We only knew we were soldiers. We marched, we obeyed, and we trusted our commanders. Then came the orders to move south. We marched by foot to Na Ba Kum in Tinh Ya District, Thanh Hoa Province. There, military trucks, Hong Ha trucks, were waiting for us. Each truck carried about 15 to 20 men, roughly the size of a platoon. I still remember the number painted on the side of my truck, 05. That was the first leg of our journey, the beginning of everything. From Tanwa, we rode south along Highway 1. And along that road, the people stood waiting. Villagers came out, waving, cheering, sending us off with hope and sorrow in their eyes. Their hands raised high, their voices calling out. It felt like the whole nation was watching us depart. I can still see it now. That sea of faces, those waves of hands. We were young, untested, full of pride, yet unaware of the storm we were walking into. It all felt so grand, so exciting. I was only 18 years old then, still naive, still too young to truly understand what war meant. Yes, I had grown up during the American War. I had heard bombs and gunfire before, but I had no idea how brutal this new war would be. After leaving Tan Hao, we marched south until we reached Da Nang. There, we rested for just one day, and then kept moving again. Our next stop was Long Bin Depot in Bien Hoa. That night, we slept in the huts that earlier units had built, low, cramped shelters of wood and palm. By morning, we were reassigned into bunkers. I still remember my first bunker mates. One was An Nam, a soldier from Hanam Nin. Today, it is called Ninh Binh. The other, I no longer remember his name. The three of us shared one bunker. The next morning, when I climbed out, I was shocked by what I saw. The villagers' houses. Softly. Nothing but blackened frames. Coconut trees and sugar palms were burned and broken. Everything was flattened, charred by artillery fire. The landscape stretched out, vast and ruined, covered with water. Our bunkers were dug so low that many were beneath the waterline. We had to build earthen walls and lay planks across the top to keep dry. At night, we lay inside, listening to the echo of gunfire and artillery shells in the distance. Sometimes, curiosity got the better of us. We would climb up onto the roof of the bunker to watch the flashes in the night sky. But our squad leader scolded us harshly. "Get down! Do you want to be killed?" And truly, when a shell landed close, the whole bunker shook, and we tumbled into the muddy water below. It was terrifying. In those early days, fear was always with us. We were new recruits, untested, untrained. Each of us had fired only 3 bullets during training. We knew almost nothing about real combat, and yet, here we were, suddenly surrounded by war. At night, from our bunker, we could see the vast marshlands ahead. Tall reeds swayed in the wind. Endless fields of wild grass. There were fish in the water. And rats. So many rats. On guard duty, we could hear them scurrying through the mud and tunnels all around us. We stayed there for about a week. Each morning, the cook, our An Nui, would bring food to our post. It was always kum nam, rice pressed into balls with salted dried fish inside. The fish was old, dry to the bone, sometimes half rotten. But when you're hungry, even that tasted wonderful. By day, there was little fighting. Mostly we heard the distant crack of rifles or the thud of mortars. But we often saw something that chilled us. Local guerrillas, carrying wounded soldiers, or the lifeless bodies of those who had fallen. It reminded us that real battles were raging not far away. After about a week on that line, our unit was moved again. This time, we were sent to what had once been an American training ground, a place the locals called Damla Sadek. There, for the first time, we trained properly. We learned real battlefield tactics, how to resist charges, how to maneuver, how to fight as a unit. I was tall and strong, so they gave me the RPD machine gun, a heavy weapon with a round drum that carried 100 bullets of 7.62 ammunition. Others in the unit carried AK rifles or rocket launchers like the B-40 and B-41. Training was hard, but it gave us a sense of confidence. We were no longer just boys with 3 bullets of practice. We were becoming soldiers. And then came the memory I can never forget. By sheer accident, I captured a Khmer Rouge soldier alive. His name was Ton Poso. That day changed everything for me. Soon after, our unit was ordered north again, into the borderlands of Hong Mu, Dong Thap. We marched to a village. I think it was called Tuong Toi, or maybe Toi Tuong. My company was stationed in the houses of the local people. It was there that the true war awaited us. By then, most of the villagers had already been evacuated. Only a few families remained, mostly elderly women. But every morning or in the late afternoons, I would still see people at the riverbanks, carrying on with their lives as if war was far away. The people of Honggu Dong Thap treated us soldiers with kindness. They often brought us bananas, fruits, little gifts of food and drink. They would warn us, "Be careful on the border. The Cambodian soldiers are ruthless. Watch out for their snipers." Back home we called it ban tia, but here they called it ban se, sniping. One evening, around 4 or 5 o'clock, I asked my company commander, An Fong, for permission to go fishing. The rivers and fields here were full of life. Giant snakehead fish weighing 2 or 3 kilos, and freshwater prawns as big as my thumb. So I slung my AK over my shoulder, strapped a pouch of ammunition to my waist, and set out. It was hot. The water was everywhere. So I wore nothing but shorts. Barefoot with my gun and ammo pouch, I waded into the shallows to look for food. Soon I had caught a few fish and prawns. I tied them with a piece of string and hung them on my belt. As I moved through the tall reeds, I used the barrel of my rifle to push the thick stalks aside, carving out a narrow path through the water. That's when I spotted it. A papaya tree. 2 golden fruits hanging, perfectly ripe. My stomach growled. I decided to get them. But the papaya tree stood on a little mound of earth, surrounded by water and wild grass. It wasn't easy to reach. Step by step, I pushed through, eager for the fruit. When I was about 20, maybe 25 meters away, I froze. At the base of the papaya tree lay an AR-15 rifle. Beside it, a green cap, like the Chinese tu trao-style hats. My heart pounded. I crouched low, sinking until the water reached my chest. I knelt there, watching, waiting. Then I saw him. A Cambodian soldier, with a rucksack strapped to his back, walked to the tree. He dropped the pack at its roots and climbed up to pluck the papayas. I could see everything clearly. He didn't throw the papayas down. He held one in each hand as he slid back down the trunk. My grip tightened on my AK. I waited, heart pounding so loud it felt like the whole swamp could hear it. The soldier reached the ground, standing just a few meters from his rifle and rucksack. He bent down, adjusting his load. In that moment, I rose slowly from the water, aiming straight at him. For a second, time froze. He looked up. Our eyes met. His face was shocked, unprepared. I shouted, "Hands up!" My voice broke the silence of the swamp. He froze, still clutching the papayas. The AR-15 lay only a few steps away, but he didn't dare move. I kept the barrel of my AK locked on him, finger firm on the trigger. One wrong move, and I would have fired. Slowly, I stepped forward through the water, keeping my gun fixed on him. "Don't move," I warned, my voice low but sharp. He dropped the papayas. His hands trembled as he raised them over his head. The swamp was silent, except for the sound of water rippling around us. I motioned with my rifle. "Step away from the gun. Now." He obeyed. The AR-15 and his rucksack stayed on the ground, abandoned at the base of the papaya tree. I could see the fear in his eyes. He was just a young man, maybe not much older than me. With one hand, I reached out and grabbed his shoulder, shoving him forward. With the other, I kept my AK steady, ready for anything. I stripped him of his weapon, his hat, his pack, even his rubber sandals. At that moment, I realized I had captured a Khmer Rouge soldier alive. It was the first time, and it would become one of the most unforgettable moments of my life. When he slid down from that papaya tree, I was already close, maybe only 10 meters away. He never saw me. The moment his feet touched the ground, I shouted, "Hands up!" He froze, startled, dropping the papayas at his feet. I barked again, louder this time, and he raised both hands slowly, trembling. His eyes glared at me, wide and fierce. His teeth shone white against his dark skin. He was taller than me, his hair curled, his face harsh, intimidating. It was the first time I had ever looked directly into the eyes of a Cambodian soldier, an enemy. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay calm. I ordered him to step back, away from the papaya tree, away from his rifle and his pack. Step by step, I pushed him with the tip of my gun. When he was a few meters clear, I slung his AR-15 over my shoulder and took control. Then I marched him back through the swamp, back to my company. I handed him over to my commander. Later, our captain, An Phong, told me who he was, a reconnaissance soldier. He had been sent to scout our positions, to mark coordinates so his artillery could fire on us. He had only been searching for food, but he was also hunting us. That day, I realized how close death had been. If he had seen me first, maybe I wouldn't be here to tell this story. It was pure luck that I caught him off guard. When word spread that I had captured an enemy scout alive, my company was buzzing. The officers passed him up the chain of command, and soon the regiment began questioning it. They confirmed what Captain Phong had said. He was indeed a reconnaissance soldier. He had been trying to locate our positions so that artillery fire could be directed straight onto us. For me, that moment became my very first achievement in this war. I was only 18 years old, but my comrades and commanders praised me. The battalion commander himself sent word of congratulations. I'll admit it, I felt proud. My chest swelled, my nose lifted a little higher. Among the new recruits, I was suddenly someone who had done something real, something dangerous. But deep inside, I also knew the truth. It had been luck. If he had spotted me first, it might have been me lying dead in that swamp. Or worse, taken prisoner. Still, that day stayed with me. It marked the beginning of my path through Cambodia. A path filled with battles, scars, and memories I will never forget. Not long after, the story of that capture spread beyond our unit. At the riverside where villagers gathered, I could hear them whispering the soldiers caught a Khmer Rouge scout alive. People crowded around, curious, asking questions. I told them the whole story, how it happened by chance, how I had marched him back alive. To me, it didn't feel like something grand. But for the people, it was a sign of hope. One afternoon, as I stood near the river, a woman approached me. She was maybe in her 30s. They called her Chihai, sister too, as people in the South often said. She invited me into her home. Inside, her elderly mother sat quietly, tears streaming down her face. Through her sobs, I learned the truth. Her grandson had gone missing months earlier. He had gone north, and never returned. No one knew if he had been killed, or captured, or lost forever. Her grief pierced me more deeply than any bullet. War did not just scar the soldiers, it tore through families, villages, generations. Later, neighborhood children wandered into the house, curious about the young soldier sitting there. I was only 18, still a boy myself, but in their eyes I was something more. A man carrying both a weapon and the weight of war. The villagers told us about a motorboat, a small vessel that in truth had been stolen from the locals. 2 Khmer Rouge soldiers used it every evening, cruising along the border. Whenever they saw farmers working, they opened fire. Day after day, they terrorized the people. When I heard this, my blood boiled. Why did no one stop them? Why did they get to roam free, killing our people, while we stood by? I was still young then, 18, hot-blooded, reckless. But even so, I could not stand it. At that time, my comrades often called me the enemy hunter. The truth is, I was fearless in battle. After the first few fights, I became hardened, unyielding. Against the Khmer Rouge, I never thought of retreat, only fight, only strike back. So I went to my company commander, Captain Fong, and begged him, let me go after them. Let me take the fight to those 2. He scolded me harshly. Soldier, you have no discipline. Battles must be planned. If you go on your own and die, what am I to tell the battalion? I left, furious. That night I could not sleep. The thought of those 2 murderers haunted me. By morning, I went back to him again. This time, I pleaded. Let me go. I won't be alone. I'll take Comrade Nam with me. Nam was from Ha Nam Nin, fearless, even bolder than I was. Together we trusted each other completely. In the trench, side by side, we always fought like brothers. If Nam went with me, I knew I wouldn't be afraid of anything. At last, Captain Fong gave his reluctant permission. I took my RPD machine gun, the one assigned to me, the one I had mastered in training. Nam carried an AK. We borrowed a small wooden boat from the villagers. Using poles, we pushed off into the flooded fields. We had trained in swimming and poling boats before, so we moved steadily, carefully. Before leaving, I marked the landmarks, trees, small mounds, so that on the way back, we wouldn't lose our path. We couldn't risk drifting into enemy territory. And so, the 2 of us set off together, our boat gliding through the vast plain of water and reeds, toward the place where the enemy prowled every evening. The flooded fields stretched endlessly before us, water everywhere, with tall reeds swaying in the wind. From time to time, clusters of thought-knot palms rose above the water, and here and there, small mounds of earth jutted up like islands. We pulled the boat forward, slowly, silently. Every sound seemed louder in that vast emptiness. The splash of water, the creak of bamboo poles. We were tense, but determined. Finally, we reached a spot that seemed right. A rise of land just high enough to keep us out of the water. We pulled the boat in and concealed it among the reeds. Nam and I exchanged a look. No words were needed. We both knew why we were there. I set up my RPD machine gun, laying the drum of 100 rounds in place. Nam crouched beside me with his AK, eyes sharp, finger ready. We hid ourselves, blending into the grass, waiting. The sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in shades of red. Evening was coming, and with it, our chance. According to the villagers, the two soldiers always came at dusk, like predators, circling, hunting. We gritted our teeth and waited, every sense alert. The water rippled, faint at first, then clearer. From the distance came the growl of an engine, the sound of a motorboat. Nam glanced at me and nodded. I gripped my weapon tight. They were coming. The sound of the motor grew louder, closer. Through the reeds I saw it. A small wooden boat, stolen from the villagers. Two Khmer Rouge soldiers stood inside, rifles slung across their backs, laughing as they scanned the riverbanks. My pulse quickened. This was it. I lowered myself behind the grass, finger firm on the trigger of my RPD. Nam shifted beside me, steady and silent with his AK. The boat drew nearer. 20 meters. 15. 10. I could see their faces now, dark and cruel, their eyes searching for prey. Then, now! The air exploded with gunfire. My RPD roared, spraying a storm of bullets across the water. Nam's AK cracked beside me. Short, sharp bursts. One soldier toppled instantly, struck down before he could even raise his rifle. The other spun, screaming, clutching his chest, before collapsing into the boat. The engine sputtered, then died. The boat drifted aimlessly, water splashing against its sides. It was over in seconds. The two soldiers who had terrorized the villagers lay dead before us. Nam and I stared at each other, our faces grim but determined. We had done what we came for. We had avenged the people. That night, for the first time, I felt the full weight of war. The fear, the fury, and the unshakable bond between comrades who chose to fight side by side. No matter the cost, the plain was endless water. Nam and I poled our little boat to a small mound of earth rising above the flood. There we dug in. We carried a soldier's folding shovel with us, so we set to work. The soil was soft, easy to cut through. After digging just half a meter, water seeped in. Still, we made a trench deep enough that only our heads would show above the ground. We cut tall reeds, the thick kolak grass, and planted them all around us. We camouflaged ourselves, our weapons, even the RPD machine gun. From just a few meters away, no one could have seen us. Then, we set our trap. We tied our boat 25 meters out, leaving it floating in the open water. Nam dove down, planting a stake into the mud below to keep the boat from drifting. It was bait, a decoy. If the Khmer Rouge patrol spotted it, they would come closer. From our hiding place, we sat and waited. We chewed on dry rations, eyes scanning the horizon. 2 o'clock passed. 3 o'clock. Then 4. Still nothing. Nam whispered, "Let's go back, Cam. Maybe they won't come today." But I shook my head. Not yet. We wait until 5:30. If they don't come by then, we'll leave. Time dragged on. Then, around 4:30, I heard it. The distant hum of an engine. I nudged Nam. "They're coming." He nodded, eyes sharp. 10 minutes later, the motorboat appeared, its bow cutting through the water, heading straight into our trap. 2 Khmer Rouge soldiers, just as the villagers had said. They didn't come straight at the decoy boat. Instead, they circled. Around and around they went, the engine growling low, suspicious, cautious. The man at the bow gripped a mounted machine gun, while the one at the stern steered with practiced ease. They prowled like wolves, sniffing, searching for danger. The boat drifted closer, then pulled away again. Closer, then circling once more. Finally, convinced, they throttled down. The engine softened, a steady murmur. The man with the machine gun let go of his weapon and stood up, leaning forward to peer inside our bait boat. He was close now. So close I could see the glint of his eyes. My finger tightened on the trigger. The trap was about to spring. The motorboat came closer, only 30, maybe 40 meters away. But the sun was setting behind us, shining straight into their eyes. They couldn't see us. Our camouflage held. Nam whispered, "If we miss, their machine gun will cut us down." I nodded, my heart pounding. The two of them drifted nearer and nearer, completely unaware. They wore black uniforms, their necks wrapped with scarves. Later, I learned it was the kroma, the Cambodian scarf, but back then, I only knew it as the enemy's mark. One soldier grabbed the prow of our decoy boat. The other stood at the stern, scanning the horizon casually, one hand resting on the mounted machine gun. They were careless now, too sure of themselves. I nudged Nam. "This is it. I'll fire first with the RPD. You follow with your AK." He gave a sharp nod. I pulled the trigger. The RPD roared, spitting fire. The first bursts tore into the man at the front. He crumpled instantly, collapsing across the boat. Nam opened up beside me. His AK barked in short, fierce bursts, spraying bullets into the target. Together we unleashed a storm, my RPD rattling with dozens of rounds, Nam emptying his entire magazine. The night erupted in thunder. The man at the bow slumped lifeless, blood spraying across the boat. I kept firing, pouring out 50, 60 rounds until half my drum was empty. Nam's AK rattled beside me, every bullet hammering into the target. When the smoke cleared, the first soldier lay sprawled across the side of the boat, his body torn apart. But the second one, he was gone. We scanned the boat, searching. Nothing. Had he jumped into the water? Was he hiding, waiting to strike back? I fired again, straight into the boat's belly to flush him out. The wood splintered, water splashed, but still, silence. Nam whispered, "Maybe he's finished already." I wasn't so sure. I left my RPD on the bank, too heavy to carry in the water, while Nam covered me with his AK. Slowly, I waded toward the boat. The first body was a horror, ripped open, guts spilled everywhere, blood soaking the planks. I steeled myself, holding my breath against the stench. Then, in the muddy water beside the boat, I saw it, a pale foot sticking out, motionless. The second soldier had been hit too. One round tore through his stomach, driving him headfirst into the mud. He never came back up. I hauled his body up by the leg. Blood poured out, his stomach torn open, the stench rising into the air. The boat was soaked red, filthy with death. We pushed one corpse into the river, letting the current carry it away. Then, Nam and I ripped strips of cloth, plugging the bullet holes in the boat so it wouldn't sink. We tied it to our own and began the long push back home. As we pulled across the water, our hearts still pounded from the fight. We had fired hundreds of rounds, and the echo of gunfire still rang in our ears. When we neared the village, we saw them. Dozens of boats rushing out to meet us. Soldiers, comrades, villagers. They shouted, waved, clapped their hands. Some brought food, bananas, cakes, fruit, and pressed them into our hands. For a moment, in that chaos, I felt proud. 18 years old, and already the villagers called me a hero. But when we returned to our company, Captain Fong was waiting. He frowned, shaking his head. "You disobeyed orders. That was reckless." Later, the battalion commander, Comrade Quinn, summoned Nam and me. He poured tea for us, listened to our story, and then sighed. "You broke discipline," he said. "But your courage is undeniable." He warned us to be careful in the future. Yet at the same time, he praised our spirit. Within a week, I was promoted to squad leader. It was my first victory, my first lesson, and my first step deeper into the war. The story I told earlier about Nam and me, many of my old comrades still remember it. It was our first real victory, striking back for the people of Tuang Toi. But after that, the battles only grew fiercer. By December, as the 22nd approached, the fighting near the border became brutal. The Khmer Rouge were strong, well-armed, with more firepower and often greater numbers than us. But let me tell you another story, one that came soon after. It was a mission I will never forget. One evening, Captain Fong called me to company headquarters. He said, "Min, I have a special mission for you." Along with me, a reconnaissance officer from the battalion was assigned. And then, Captain Fong added one more man, Comrade Nam, my trusted brother in arms. The task was dangerous. I was given 2 smoke grenades, one yellow, one red. Our mission was to slip across enemy lines, deep into Khmer Rouge territory, and ignite the smoke at dawn. The rising colored plumes would mark the target for our air force and artillery. Once the shells and bombs found their mark, we would withdraw. It sounded simple, but we all knew the truth. If the enemy spotted us, we were finished. We spent the day training. The recon officer showed us how to use the smoke grenades, how to read the maps, how to plot bearings with a compass. Nam and I listened carefully. We were new, untested, still learning. That evening, after supper, the 3 of us prepared our gear. At 9 o'clock, under cover of darkness, we set out. We moved through the night, the darkness pressing down on us. The fields were flooded, water up to our waists, cold and heavy. Each step was slow, careful. The leeches clung to our legs, but we dared not stop. The recon officer led the way, compass in hand, checking the map under a dim, shielded light. He avoided the main paths. Those would be watched, maybe even mined. Instead, we waded silently through the water, pushing reeds aside, our weapons held above the surface. Ahead of us, the land began to rise. On the Cambodian side, the ground was higher. The enemy bunkers dug into dry soil. We knew their eyes could be out there, searching, waiting. Our task was simple on paper, but every heartbeat reminded us, one mistake, one sound, and we would never return. Still, we pressed on, step by step, toward the enemy stronghold. That night marked the beginning of the most dangerous mission I had ever faced. And it was only the start of a long war filled with countless battles and memories. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have stayed with me until now, I truly appreciate your support. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing, so more people can hear these memories. There are still many stories left to tell, of ambushes, battles, and survival on the Cambodian front. This is only the end of episode 1. The journey has just begun.